I don't wanna.
Jam on toast!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Jam. I'm Cam. Right there, the toast is to Scary Movie. This is a review for Harry Movie Club. Every week, Alan over on Mr. Harry Britt chooses a movie for us to watch. We watch it, and then he takes the time to compile all of it into one big movie review. And thanks, Alan. Except, why? Though I guess it is fair, we're doing parodies this month, and Scary Movie started off a whole generation of parody movies, so why not? So the short sale of this one is that it's a parody movie of scary movies. Mostly Scream with a lot of references to other things like I Know What You Did Last Summer. This is kind of the teen slasher one. I love it for this one. I have no idea why, but it's the only thing that I always remember from when I first watched it was the ceiling cum shot. It's so ridiculous. It still makes me laugh, but it's just kind of like, what? And it's really the only thing in a horror movie parody thing where like I can laugh without anybody dying in the process. My hate was the dick in the ear, not kill. It was a stupid effect. It was a funny enough idea. It wasn't plotted or planned into the big scheme of things. It wasn't like, at this point, everyone's gonna see me get a dick in the ear. He was alone in a bathroom, and like, he got a dick through the brain. It came in one ear and went out the other, and he's only got one ear bent. There's just a lot of fall through on that, and not enough follow through. So it's upsetting. I get that it's a stupid parody movie, and you're not supposed to analyze it, but why else would you pick this movie? The MVP for this was Anna Faris. It was really good to see her and Shannon Elizabeth back in the day when they were both a lot younger. I've always kind of really liked her as an actress. She seems really laid back, but she does panicky and like wide-eyed, scared white girl whatever really well. So it seemed kind of fitting that she got stuck in the Scary Movie. This is not the Anna Faris show. We're going to move on to the categories. Aesthetics. The aesthetics were very particular. It seems like there was a very small net group of people who was like, oh, I really think this is funny. We're going to put it in there and we're going to help everyone else think it's funny. And again, these are not movies that I'm probably the target audience for or anything, but like Altering the Mask, I really did not like. There were a lot of good, well-done shots to make references to other movies. They've got a lot of the stupid looks down, especially like Officer Doofy. With him having like the hook or the knife, or the scene where Shannon Elizabeth is running around and then she like snaps her own leg. Like, that was really good. So they did some things really well, and it's all very short term. And then there's things that like I just absolutely hated. But none of it was not watchable. It just wasn't always like, oh, I'm into that. I'm not into that. And they did a lot of good things like with the naming conventions and whatnot to set it up so that you had those connections to the movies they were supposed to parody. Cindy versus Sydney. Several times I thought they were saying Sydney, and maybe they did. It just snuck it in there, and I just didn't care enough to pay attention. Gail being the reporter, and Officer Doofy versus Dewey. That's it. And a lot of the jokes, whether they were on it or not, depended on verbal timing for the joke to hit. Like, oh man, did you see this? It's a big fat bowl. It's crazy. I don't know like how to really phrase it, but they know what they're doing from a stand-up perspective and a short perspective to present it. It's just when you go back and you look at everything as a whole, maybe not everything matches up, but again, it's parodying all these different things, so it's not necessarily supposed to. Aesthetics gets a 50. Character development. The characters in this are all dependent upon you having to watch these other movies. Very little development is done independently, except for maybe her high brother, Marlon Wayans' character. I can't remember what his name was, but obviously a lot of these other characters don't mean anything if you haven't watched Scream, or the reference to Jennifer Love Hewitt you probably would get unless you'd seen I Know What You Did Last Summer. They leaned a lot of this, and that's okay, but if I'm going to sit down and watch a movie, I want you to at least put the effort in to develop the characters independently so that we understand the relationships between everybody and what's going on. And they make like this reference to Sydney. Isn't that the girl who did this? this, and like we had that push from the other movie, I don't think they really did enough with it. But that wasn't the point. The point was to be a comedy special spoof thing, and maybe it doesn't warrant an entire movie because you're going to sit down that long. You want to be able to follow the characters and have them build up and not just be throwaway characters, which is what you do in comedy shorts. You want them short and sweet and disposable so that you're not wasting people's time developing them, you're just getting the laugh out there. It's one of the shortcomings of comedy writing versus extended writing. Character development gets a 50.
Storyline.
They actually pieced together an interesting sort of story twist on it. Being able to copycat existing murder to get away with their own killing spree while there's still another killer on the loose. With the same twists and whatnot from the other movies, and then being able to twist and expand it. So in the short term, like a lot of that writing's okay. It's not bad. I didn't think a lot of it was all that funny, but they definitely put the work in. They got it set up and it was watchable. I just didn't think it was good. It leaned too much on the other movies. It would have been better to me if they had written their own scary movie that just happened to make fun of the paradigms from these other movies instead of making fun of the other movies themselves. I think they cut themselves short for what they could have done. Storyline gets a 50.
Compulsion.
Maybe I'm not the target demographic. Maybe you're supposed to watch this drunk or high. Maybe you're supposed to be a Wayans Brother fan from the beginning. I'm not saying they're bad. I actually think they're kind of funny, but Marlon Wayans especially, I think is really funny, but I think he was wasted in the role, and not as a pun or anything, just I think he could have been a lot more for that movie. Anna Faris and Shannon Elizabeth are both great, and but like I didn't really know too many of the other people. I noticed another Wayans brother in there. I can't remember which one he was, unfortunately, off the top of my head. But he was probably the best actor in the movie, given the roles. I really, really think that like gay guy, the straight character that he was playing was on top of it. It just did a really good role. I'd like to see him in more things, honestly. But while again it was good to see Anna Faris and Elizabeth, I'm not feeling most of the movie. None of the drug humor appeals to me. I don't find the people getting killed part actually funny. The strategic stuff that's involved in the killer getting to the victims and cornering them, that's the part that seems interesting because it's strategy based, and that's the part that they pick apart to try to make fun of the rest of it. And it's hit or miss throughout the whole thing. And again, they're making fun of teen slasher movies, and those are the movies I kind of like. So they're making fun of movies that I like, and not always in the best way. So it's kind of like Compulsion gets a 25. Now you total everything up, you get an average of 43.75. For my wrap-up review, I'm not going to say this is a throwaway at all. A lot of people like this movie, and you should probably check it out to see if you like it. But as soon as you're like, ugh, you should probably turn it off and stop wasting your time with it. This was a movie that spearheaded a whole generation of parody movies, and that's important to remember. Not only did it launch like a whole series of scary movies, but we got things like Not Another Teen Movie, Not Another Romantic Comedy, lots of different things that come up, and I can't remember most of them because a lot of them are pretty awful. But that doesn't mean people don't like them, especially if you don't like the movies that they're referencing to make fun of. Maybe you'll enjoy it more, but to me, you almost have to watch like 5 or 6 movies that hopefully you enjoy because they're decent movies, and then watch this and go, oh, I really like that you don't like that these other movies did these things. So it's a very confusing type of parody to me, whereas you look at things like Shaun of the Dead, Robin Hood Men in Tights, where like they follow either major elements of these genres or a story, a single story, and then they put twists on those elements in that story. This kind of took too many different paths at once, twisting it up so that you just kind of run in circles, which would make a great series of shorts. I really wish the Wayans brothers had their own show again, where like maybe they do things like Saturday Night Live, where they do single skits, and all the scary movie stuff would have been great as individual short skits to me. They don't qualify for the development necessary for a movie. it just doesn't seem a lot of point to it. It's like their comedy is pretty effective on the short run. Just do that. They should have jumped on YouTube way back in the day and got up. They would have been in the top 200 for sure. However, not everybody was privy to that, and still people are not. Luckily now comedians are actually jumping on there. I think they would do really, really well. So this isn't that I hate the Wayans brothers at all. I actually think they're pretty funny given particular topics of comedy. I just can't recommend this to everybody, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't watch it. Just, hey, be warned, the first time that you're like, bleh, turn it off and have a better day. That's it for me. I'm Cameron. If you don't like me, bite me.
If you want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations, and they'll take you to our other channels.